Harp on Sports, the VAR, podcast, audio, media, radio network. Follow, share, subscribe, like at Harp on Sports on all your platforms. Harp on Sports, of course, the Facebook page, YouTube channel. You can check out our podcast on Spotify, Buzzsprout, and Apple Podcasts. Here we go. College football is here. The NFL right around the corner. NFL preseason pretty much in the rearview mirror. So what do we have in store for you on this edition of The Bar? The Jags and their bags, good baggage and bad baggage. A little Frosty bite, ESPN duped, or were they? And 1 in a million, max a million. So off first with the Jaguars. As they throttle the Cowboys, Trevor Lawrence plays well. They've traded away Gardner Minshew and Urban Meyer. I thought they should have kept Gardner Minshew if the offensive line was that bad, was that poor. And they pretty much light up the Cowboys with their first stringers. And what did you find out? Well, you find out that the Jaguars were missing 4 offensive linemen, 4 starters. And Trevor Lawrence still was, 11-12 for $130 or whatever he was. So he looked good. Now, here's the thing when it comes to this. You own your baggage, right? You own it. My whole issue with the Jaguars is if we're going to sit there and be critical of them because they looked poor on Monday night, which they did. They looked bad. But then come around and say, oh my gosh, Urban Meyer looks in over his head. They're not prepared. The Jaguars are a mess. If you're going to do that on Monday night, fine. But you can't come back Sunday and say, the preseason doesn't matter. Whoop-de-deal, it's the preseason. You can't be bad and held accountable for being bad. But if you look good, it doesn't matter. It doesn't work that way. It's kind of like that whole SEC thing with bowl games where, we weren't trying when you get beat. When you win, see, SEC's better than the Big Ten. Own it. Own your baggage. And the Jaguars struggled on Monday night. 5 days later, come out, Trevor Lawrence lights up the Cowboys with only one starting offensive lineman, Jawan Taylor. A.J. Cann's in COVID protocol. Linder was out. Norwell was out. Just the way it is, man. Cam Robinson's out. They're all expected to be back. Oh, okay. Now, trading Gardner Minshew away for a 6th-round pick. Look, Urban Meyer created some competition. And then, adios. Why? You can't have Gardner Minshew hanging around if Trevor Lawrence struggles. You just can't. You can't. Quickest way to a quarterback controversy. It's his. Here are the keys. It's yours. Urban made it seem like that may not happen. And clean sailing from here? Question mark? We'll see. We'll see how this works. But I do know this. They look so much better today than they did on Monday. Now, look, this whole pipe dream of 9-8, that's not going to happen. This team win 5 or 6 games? Yeah, we're going to do our predictions coming up on Thursday's edition of The Bar. Well, we're going to do our college predictions on Thursday. That'll be my NFL predictions early next week. But I look, if you're a Jaguar fan, you got to feel good about this after 3 preseason games. And 3 preseason games get you a little bit of a feel, doesn't it? We go from last year having none to 2 years ago in the previous decade plus having 4. Even before that, before we had the structure of the league in the early 2000s where you had 5, 6 preseason games depending on the team. 3 the magic number? Well, we'll see. But it took 3 to get this, didn't it? It did. Could you get it down to 2? Yeah. What's the point of 1? The point of these are to make money. At 3, you're fine. 17 regular season games. Here we go. Now, it feels weird having 2 weeks off now before the season starts. Actually, depending on how you look at it, 11 days. But that's fine. To me, it's fine. Here we go. So, again, the Jags seem to be in good shape. And getting a 6th for Gardner Minshew, who knows? Is it Lutton or is it Brethard or Luton, however, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter this thing about, they need to have a veteran as a backup. Why? Well, in case something goes wrong. Well, then the Bucs are hosed if something goes wrong with Brady because the backup's who? Gabbert and Trask? This whole thing about needing a veteran as a backup in case something goes wrong. Well, why? If something goes wrong, you're hosed. Bengals, Burrow out, you're hosed. Chiefs, Mahomes out, you're hosed. Those elite teams, you lose your quarterback, you're done. If the Browns lose Mayfield, done, cooked. There are a few teams in the NFL where you can lose your quarterback and be fine or be okay and survive. The Eagles a couple years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, it's an anomaly. Well, what if Lawrence gets hurt? What are they going to do? They're going to lose a lot. That's how it works. So there we go on the Jags front. But no, good sign heading into the postseason or into the regular season. Again, can't tell me that Urban Meyer's not ready for prime time. Boy, they don't look good. The offense is a mess. They come out and they slice and dice the Cowboys the first 2 drives. He pulls the stars and goes, it's preseason. No, it doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way. So there you go on that front. Something else over the weekend. Nebraska losing against Illinois. Brett Bielema. Here we go. Illinois. Brett Bielema. Out of the gate. Beats Nebraska. Scott Frost is in year 4. Same thing as Dan Mullen at Florida, year 4. Struggling. And again, I think, 0-1, a loss on the road in the Big Ten. There's going to be games in there. I thought if Scott Frost could somehow get to 7-5 or 8-4, you can go from there. But this just goes to show you when you have a good coach, don't screw it up. Expectation levels, fans are ridiculous and absurd. And Nick Saban has made it that way because of the success he's had. And so has Dabo Swinney. And everybody's chasing that. And you look at what Nebraska had going way back. You look at Nebraska's last 2 coaches that had winning records that they fired. Frank Solich had a winning record. They pushed him out after going 9-3. That was 19 years ago? 18 years ago? Has it been that long? Yeah, geez, about 18 years ago. Then what happened? Well, then they kind of fell on it with Callahan. And then they got Pelini. And Pelini led them to 4 straight division crowns? When Nebraska go to 4 straight Big Ten championship games? He had 9-win seasons, 4 straight 9-win seasons. Then what happened? Not good enough. Out. Not good enough. We need to be elite. Then what happens? They hire Mike Riley. That's a disaster. Hire Scott Frost. That's a disaster. Now, I'm not saying your expectations shouldn't be high. But if you're getting to the conference championship game every year and you have a good coach, maybe, just maybe, take a deep breath back and realize not everybody's Alabama, not everybody's Clemson. It takes a while to get there. Even if you do get there, I give Notre Dame a lot of credit for Brian Kelly and their patience with him. After they got drilled by Clemson, 4 years ago, they could have said, that's it. We need to be elite. They could have chased down a Scott Frost. They could have. They could have went after somebody like that. Who knows what it would have gotten them? Brian Kelly, does he win them national championships? No, but he gets them in the game. Well, they get drilled. Hey, man, the last 2 times Notre Dame's made the college football playoff, the 2 times they've made it, Alabama beats them by 17 last year, whatever it was? Beats Ohio State by 30? Every year, the 2 times Notre Dame's made the college football playoff, they get drilled by Clemson. They lost by 3-4 touchdowns. And then Clemson goes out and beat Alabama by more. So Clemson beats Notre Dame, then they beat Alabama by more. Last year, Alabama beats Notre Dame, then they go out and beat Ohio State by more. Oh, they're not ready for this. Well, then neither was Alabama. Alabama didn't belong and Ohio State didn't belong, even though Ohio State beat Clemson. So just take a step back with this. And now if you're Nebraska, okay, what do you do? Well, you figure out where you are and you got to make a decision. You can do this over again? You can do this over again. And then what? I look at a guy like Jim Harbaugh. What's Jim Harbaugh have? 3, 4, 9-win seasons at Michigan? Oh, we got to make a change. Good gracious. Got to come up with somebody else. Why? For what? What are you going to come up with that's better than what you have? I don't know. Something. You ever notice that when somebody wants to fire somebody or can somebody? Well, what's your suggestion? Well, anything's better than this. Anything isn't a person. Anything's better than this. Oh, good. I'm glad you're in charge. I'm going to fire you and replace you with what? I don't know. Florida Gator basketball fans are this way. Get rid of Mike White and replace him with who? I don't know. And then Jay Wright from Villanova. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Realistic. In Nebraska with Scott Frost, they lose to Illinois. What if this team can go 7-5? It's tough to recruit there. It's tough to win there. It is. It may take him 6-7 years before they get to 8-4, 9-3. You're going to fire him and hire who? He's not ready for prime time. This just shows you when you have a good football coach that has success in major college football, in a major conference, at a school that's not known for it, you snatch him up. I remember 5 years ago when we were having this discussion about or 4 years ago, and the disaster that was Jim McElwain at Florida. And, they're talking about who should Scott Strickland hire? Chip Kelly, Scott Frost, innovative offenses. Look what they're doing. Meanwhile, Dan Mullen had gone what? He got Mississippi State ranked number 1 in the country and lost to Alabama by what, 10? In Tuscaloosa? Took Mississippi State. Was able to navigate LSU, Auburn, that division. Took Mississippi State to a major bowl game. It's like, well, that's coaching. Produced that's coaching. Now, look, do I think Dan Mullen, at times is asleep at the wheel? Sometimes. But what coach isn't? Last year, Alabama's defense gave up 50 points to Ole Miss. It happens. My question with Dan Mullen are more off the field than on the field. So, look, it's a good football coach. He is a good football coach. And you look at what Nebraska finds themselves in a position at. You look at, Michigan here with Jim Harbaugh. He's got to beat Ohio State or he's gone. Okay, then you're going to go hire who? The next good MAC coach? I think a lot of programs overvalue their value or their self-worth. Like, we won 3 national titles. Yeah, and they're all before the internet. Whoop-de-doo. Don't let your nostalgia get in the way of your importance. 30 years ago, Nebraska, top of the heap in college football. Would you even put him in the top 30? If I went through and said, I'm going to pay you $5 million to be a head football coach, start writing the places where you want to coach first. Where would Nebraska be on that list? Find a good coach, build with him. It may take you a decade. Winning a champion, got to win championships. I get it. I get it. That's why I look at what Texas just did. Good gracious. Here we go again. All right. So I'm looking around like the different college football programs right now and them being patient and trying to get where they want to get. I look at what Florida State's done. Now, I think Mike Norvell's going to be a good coach. It's going to take him a couple years to get there. But Dan Mullen had Florida, in the SEC title game in 3 years? They may take a step back. You see this now with Georgia. You get rid of Mark Richt, and Kirby Smart comes in. It's like, Kirby better win it this year, or what? You're going to fire him and replace him with who? You're going to replace him with? Huh? And remember this, just because a song knocks another song off the top 100 Billboard spot doesn't mean that band's a better artist than the other band. Some movie had to knock off a movie off the best-selling list, right? Can anybody remember what Titanic was number 1 in the box office for like 20 straight weeks? You remember what knocked it off? Lost in Space. Yeah, that cinematic classic with Matt LeBlanc. So you got to be able to take things with a grain of salt. And that's how I look at that, at least when it comes to coaches. And, I look around the SEC and look, Auburn may be the best example. Gus Malzahn, it's time to go. Okay. And replace him with what? Auburn did to Gus Malzahn what Nebraska did to Bo Pelini. Not enough. Should be winning championships. Oh, okay. Now, Scott Frost goes 7-5. I just have this feeling that they're going to go like 7-5 and they're going to shove him out. We've got to see what he can. Lost to Illinois. It's done. Hold on, gang. Did they look good? No, they didn't. But pump the brakes. This team goes 8-4. Let's face it, that division's pond scum. That's mean. The division isn't any good. Who do they have over there? Illinois, Northwestern. Who else is over there? Iowa. That division just bleh. Was Purdue over on that side? Was Purdue on the Ohio State side? See, I can't even remember how they divided the Big Ten now. Isn't that a shame? So, okay. Minnesota, loaded. I'll tell you what, loaded. Okay, shifting gears here. I've got 2 more things for you. There's this story, and I want to make sure I get this team right. Bishop Sycamore out of Ohio took on the IMG Academy here in Florida. The IMG Academy's loaded. They got 15 Division I recruits. And this Bishop Sycamore apparently claimed to have a bunch of Division I recruits, and turns out they don't. ESPN got duped here a little bit. Score of this game was what? 58-0. It was 42-0 with 5 minutes to go or 4 minutes to go in the second quarter. So this is on national TV. ESPN has 2 high school teams playing, and the IMG Academy just completely and totally, torches and barbecues and sautés this Bishop Sycamore team to the point where, your broadcasters come on TV and say, hey, look, we couldn't verify how good this team is. And they tell us they have all these recruits, and turns out it doesn't look like it. So everybody's on ESPN got duped. ESPN got duped. If that's the angle you take on this, this is fine. Here's my angle, and I went back through and looked. Bishop Sycamore was outscored last year 227 to 47. 227 to 47. That's abysmal. That's just terrible. Okay, 227 to 47. Then I think for a second, how could you fall for this? Then I think of something else. Think about how awful and terrible and rotten human beings must be that run this school, that coach this team. You were outscored 227 to 47. You lost to this IMG Academy 60 or what was it, 58 to 6 last year, whatever they lost, 48 to 6. So they lose to this team by 50 points last year. This team is outscored 227 to 47 last year. And the administrators at this school and the coaches say, hey, let's go on national TV and get our kids embarrassed. You have 16, 17, and 18-year-olds that go on national television. They get skull drug. There's like, how could ESPN fall for this? That's what you take away from it? ESPN made a mistake? Yes, they did. But how awful of a coach do you have to be to trot your kid out there to get scalped on national television? Hey, you know what? We could be on TV. We're going to get the piss beat out of us, and we're going to get squeezed to death. But let's go out there. Who wants to get drilled? Who wants to get drilled? Let's go. Hey, Mom and Dad, your son's going to be on ESPN against the IMG Academy. Now, we fudged and said a bunch of our guys are Division I football players. So we're going to get out there and we're going to prove them right. And ESPN's embarrassed by it. But how isn't the outrage directed at the coaches in the school? Think about this. I just think about like my nephew's high school basketball team. And if you'd come out, Indiana, Northeast Indiana, if you come out and say, hey, we're going to take this high school basketball team, and they're pretty good, and we're going to go up against the team with LeBron James's son, was it Bronny, and Scottie Pippen's son, and is it Kenyon Martin's son? They're going to take on this team on ESPN. Be like, listen here, buddy, just some advice. Don't do it. Well, it's a great opportunity. What, lose by 60? You're not ready for that. You're not ready for that. And shame on the coaches and the school. Shame on them. Everybody's mad at the network. Shame on you guys for letting your kids get destroyed. It's like the ESPN made a mistake. The ESPN did? Good gracious. This is like one of those things where, and you've seen this in football games. Remember when Savannah State took on Florida State, or Savannah State took on Oklahoma State a couple years ago? It was 84-0 at halftime or whatever it was. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, what's Savannah State, or, what's Oklahoma State thinking? Yeah, shame on them, but shame on, what are you doing getting killed like that? What do you think was going to happen? Just, yuck. One to wrap with this, because I think this is really cool. Max Scherzer, I'm going to do a little baseball here. I went through and looked at the baseball standings. This is where we are today with 1 month to go. 1 month to go in the regular season, exactly 1 month. Your playoff teams would be the Rays, the Sox, and the Astros would win the division, and the Yankees would host the Red Sox. That's awesome. Again, Rays, Sox, Astros, Yankees would host the Red Sox in the playing game. In the National League, your division winners would be the Braves, the Brewers, and the Giants, and the Reds would visit the Dodgers. And I was thinking about this looking at the Dodgers. Max Scherzer is now 4-0 since being traded from the Nationals to the Dodgers. Max Scherzer, right now, with 1 month to go, Max Scherzer 4-0, and he should finish about 7-1, right? And I was looking at this. Max Scherzer should win the Cy Young this year. His numbers are going to be there to win the Cy Young. With DeGrom being hurt, and, Adam Wainwright's having a good year, but come on. Scherzer should win the Cy Young, which would give him his 4th. Clemens has the most with 7. Scherzer with 4 would get him up there with Randy Johnson, get him up there with Greg Maddux. It's pretty exclusive company, wouldn't you say? Pedro Martinez won 3. So Scherzer could win a 4th Cy Young this year. If Max Scherzer, and I'm going to give you some other numbers about Scherzer, and Max $1 million, right? 1 in a million. I was looking at some of his numbers and where he is. He's got 187 wins and 97 losses. If Max Scherzer, okay, who's going to be a free agent, would go into the Dodgers, because the Dodgers are loaded with all the talent that they have. The Dodgers are going to win 95 to 100 games, if not 95 to 105 games. If Max Scherzer would sit around with the Dodgers and go, look, 37 years old, I'll sign a 3-year deal for you under market value. Max Scherzer is going to win 16 to 20 games, if not more, every single year. Well, he's winning 15, 16 games with the National. If Max Scherzer stays healthy, Max Scherzer is winning 20 games every year with the Dodgers. So if you sign a 3-year deal, Max Scherzer is going to be right around that 250 win mark. Sometime here this month, or actually in the month of September, Max Scherzer will get his 3,000th career strikeout. So if he'd sign like a 3-year deal for the Dodgers and run this thing out, Max Scherzer, I have him right around 250 wins. That's Bob Gibson territory. More than Pedro Martinez. Now, Greg Maddux, I'm talking about right-handed pitchers now because Randy Johnson 300, Tom Glavine 300. I'm trying to think of the guys that have gotten to 300. Randy Johnson, Tom Glavine. Of course, Greg Maddux got to 300. It's been a while since somebody got to 300 wins. Is Greg Maddux our last right-handed pitcher to get to 300 wins? Maybe. He's never going to get there. We can get 250, 251. And as he approaches 3,000 strikeouts, I was looking at this. Don Sutton's 7th all-time with 3,574 3 years. He's going to finish when it's all said and done. Max Scherzer is going to end up with the second most Cy Youngs ever behind Roger Clemens. He has a chance to finish in the top 6 in strikeouts and have a win total right around Bob Gibson. You may be talking about Max Scherzer as being the best right-handed starting pitcher since Pedro Martinez. And Max Scherzer, one of the top 10 pitchers in the last 40 years. That's what the numbers tell us. He won his 4th Cy Young this year. So it's up to him what he wants. He can go out there and go sign with the Diamondbacks or go out there and go sign with the Cubs. He could go do something like that and make $30 million a year, make $100 million over the next 3 years, and go 14-8 every year and fine. But he wants to get above 250 wins and closing on Bob Gibson type of win numbers and end up in the top 6, 7 all time in strikeouts, and with the Cy Young totals take a run at Roger Clemens, because this will be 4. Clemens has 7. Max Scherzer, maybe one of the top 5 pitchers of the last 40 years, if he stays in LA. So there you go. Harp on Sports, the Bar Podcast, Audio Media Radio Network. Follow, share, subscribe, like. You should do it. YouTube. You can check out our podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Buzzsprout is where we're housed. Still working on the website, getting that thing updated. Going to have a bunch of cool new features on there in the next 2-3 weeks. I think we've got it narrowed down about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. It'll be ready. At least looking in that ballpark to get this thing done, at least get it started. So there you go. And coming up this week, we're going to have our, I think Thursday night, pretty sure Thursday night, college football. I'm hopping on Fridays now, but this week I'm going to do Thursday because Friday is going to be a zoo because of our first Gator game. So we're going to do our college football predictions, college football playoff predictions, Heisman, all that stuff. So there you go. And remember, stay clean, stay focused, stay strong. Frankenstein. Have fun with your friends.